Hi, my name is Amy Jam, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 3 pillars of success that I have implemented in my life, and I know will work for you too. So stay tuned. A little about my background. I was born in California, raised in DC. My background is in technology, and I have worked multiple 9 to 5s in my career implementing software programs across the private and public sectors. I have a lot of experience in other areas as well. And what I really want to share with you folks today is how I got to the point of structuring my life in a way that I can have the comfort and sustenance of 9 to 5 with the benefits of owning my own businesses. Pillar 1 is finding your foundational source. So what keeps you grounded? What identifies your yeses and nos? For me, that's spirituality. So there's just some things that my spirituality will require me to say no to in the long run, and that saves me a lot of headache. And that source of truth for me is my relationship with God. To other folks, that may be your religion or your mentors or your parents. But whatever it may be, I stress that this is the most important of the 3 pillars. Having this identified will give you the boundaries that you need in life, not just toward business, but in your personal relationships as well, and will help you to succeed and reach your goals ultimately. Just as a sidebar, being born here, but having the Persian American culture embedded in me, we always want to please others and go above and beyond even what we have in order to do so. And one way of really being able to control that and alleviate from having a disservice to yourself is to really identify your boundaries. And by having your spiritual source of truth or your mentor's source of truth or your religion or your parents or whoever it may be or whatever it may be, you're always able to map that back to your foundation and determine if what you're doing is really going to benefit in the long run. So pillar number 1, find your foundational source of truth. Pillar 2, what are your goals? And that is such a $1 million question. I know we've got all these inspirational, motivational folks talking about your goals, but what are your goals? What I would say is try to limit them to 3 if possible. And maybe you don't even have 3, maybe you just have 1. What is it? Number 2, write it down. So your goal needs to be written down. And I'm not talking about writing it down in some notebook or a Post-it and putting it in some drawer that you're never going to open and look at. I'm asking you to get a bulletin board, get a whiteboard, get a chalkboard, whatever, and get a big one and write it down where you sit all day. If it's in your office, if it's, in your room or in the kitchen even. Plant that whiteboard there. Take a look at that goal every day. And from there, I don't want you to build out your entire goal project plan on your whiteboard, but what I want you to do is have 3 main subtasks that are dependencies for you reaching that goal. So for example, if your goal is to open your own business, number 1, you're going to have a colon next to that goal and you're going to have a due date for yourself. So I'm going to give myself a due date of 12 months. Underneath the goal, you're going to have letter A, B, and C. A, if that is finding your place of business, you're going to shoot that on there. Maybe you don't need to write that you need to do construction, because finding your place of business will incorporate that facility already having the construction in place. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to start from the ground up. Letter B, construction. Letter C, hiring your employees. And ultimately D, going live with your business. That's all I want on your board. That way, those mini subtasks and dependencies are not clouding your vision and you can still see the main goal at hand. Sometimes I see a lot of business folks dive into businesses. They know what they want to do. However, there's so many minor details that get convoluted in the vision that it ultimately deters them from reaching their goal. So keep it simple, folks, keep it visible, and break it down into 3 workable actions, and I guarantee that you'll reach your goal even sooner than that due date. Number 3, this may be a little far out, but this has worked for me, and that's why it's really important that I share this with you. When I look at myself physically and mentally, I actually look at myself as 2 entities. My thoughts being one entity, and then my physical being my second entity. And what that allows me to do is give from my thoughts to my physical entity orders and delegate. So in essence, I'm looking at myself as 2 resources and not 1. Sometimes when we look at things, we rely on so many outside sources for guidance. It can almost seem like we're losing control of the ultimate task at hand. So by splitting myself up mentally into 2 entities, I'm able to drive my tasks to completion and not get overwhelmed. So I have my list. I have my mental list from my 1 entity of things that I need to do. And then I have my physical capabilities, which is based on daily actions. So every day I'll look at my mental list and say, I'm assigning this to myself today. I'm assigning this to myself tomorrow and this to myself next month. That way I'm less reliant on external resources and I'm taking care of things in-house while learning. That's the most important piece to this. By assigning work to myself, I'm becoming an expert in things that I didn't know. For example, permits. How do I get a permit for this facility? I'm assigning myself the building permit process tomorrow. What do? It doesn't take a genius these days. You can Google it. You can go down to the office and get instructions from a live person, and you just execute. By assigning yourself, you are your biggest fan. You want this more than anyone else that would work for you. And you are ultimately going to bring it to fruition. So think of yourself as 2 entities, have your task list, and have your physical being execute on those tasks day by day until you ultimately get to cross off those item A, item B, and item C on that whiteboard. And these are the 3 pillars that I think will take you from this level to the next. Thank you all so much for watching my first ever YouTube video. I will be bringing more videos to you, unfiltered, based on my real life experiences. So I appreciate if you could click on that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Jam on.